Pan-Africanism is how we survived and will continue to survive. Any ideology that says otherwise is a detriment to ourselves.
Welcome to Pan-African Lifestyle, where we rep the motherland. We post content regularly and invite you to subscribe and share, if you're a pal. That's a Pan-African lifestyler.
There seems to be some confusion about Pan-Africanism and how it relates to Black American identity. The purpose of grounding the Black identity in an understanding of ourselves as African people is not just for us to have some over-romanticized vision or perspective of ourselves. The purpose is for us to be centered in who we are. Understanding our position in the world on the global stage helps us to better understand our condition and strategize better to improve it. Black tells us what we look like, but it doesn't tell us who we are. This is why every serious Pan-Africanist understands that locally, nationally, and globally speaking, African people gain better insight, perspectives, and strategies when confronting oppression through a collaborative effort. The same interests are at stake, the same sides are drawn up, the same schemes are at work. Globally, African people and people of African descent experience harm as a collective. Thus, it is within our best interest to counter them collectively. These collaborative efforts don't mean that everything will be easy and there will be no issues, and I think that's where most of the confusion comes in. People think that by advocating for Pan-Africanism, we're saying that instantly everything is going to be all sunshine and roses, and that's not what we're saying. We're saying that globally, African people share common bonds, struggles, and cultural linkages. We also share common threats that are connected to global systems of oppression, so much so that it is highly beneficial to combine our efforts and work with each other in some capacity. This is a much better strategy than isolationism or xenophobia. All of these things have been tried before, and none of it has helped the masses of any African nation or community of African descendants throughout the diaspora. Anti-Black xenophobia or isolationism has only made things worse. Additionally, a grounding in Black identity with an understanding of ourselves as African people helps us to better tap into cultural awareness that centers our worldviews, helps to uplift our self-determination, and provides the wisdom that guides effective strategies and tools that come from within our communities and cultural understandings. A recognition of African identity as Black Americans or wherever you are as an African descendant on the planet is not an attempt to erase our cultural differences. Yes, Pan-Africanism emphasizes similarities, but it also celebrates these differences that we have because we're able to build from various viewpoints and perspectives, and that helps us to strategize and make our collective conditions better. Our ancestors that have been doing the work to keep us alive and create a better future knew who they were, Africans in America. There is also a false narrative floating around that Pan-Africanism is some old ideology that came and went and withered away when nothing could be further from the truth. Pan-Africanism is alive and well. As long as Black people are alive on this planet, Pan-Africanism will endure because it has to. The only people that believe this false narrative of the death of Pan-Africanism are people that are not themselves involved in Pan-Africanist movements. I'm reminded by an Ashanti proverb that states, "By the time the fool has learned the game, the players have dispersed." They simply don't know what they're talking about because they're not involved in the process. So this false narrative of the death of Pan-Africanism derives not only from ignorance, but also laziness and anti-Blackness from a myopic worldview that will only put our communities further behind. We can and should encourage various perspectives on how to best uplift our communities. But what we can't do is allow ourselves to become so downtrodden and short-sighted that we succumb to anti-Black ideologies that continuously promote divisions instead of unity. When you see that African nations at the international level comprise the largest representative body and the largest force of any continent, you and I would be out of our minds not to identify with that power block. We would be out of our minds. We would actually be traitors to ourselves to be reluctant or fearful to identify with people with whom we have so much in common. In the moment of crisis, the wise build bridges and the foolish build dams. And right now, there are far too many of us advocating foolishness. At this point in our journey, none of us can afford isolationism and unnecessary divisiveness. For Black Americans, it is important for us to remember that yes, we are still Africans connected to the global Pan-African world. It is perfectly fine for us to advocate for ourselves, but we should never lose sight of working in coalition with the Pan-African world. We should never forget the importance of Pan-African unity, because Pan-Africanism is how we survived and will continue to survive. Any ideology that says otherwise is a detriment to ourselves.
Thanks for tuning in to Pan-African Lifestyle. Share your thoughts in the comments section and follow us on TikTok and Instagram at Pan-African Lifestyle to be inspired. For awesome PAL merch, check out panafricanlifestyle.com/shop. Keep repping the motherland.